Hare Srinivasa, Namaskara. We are all aware that from 17th of May 2026, Adhika Maasa has started. It is a very, very auspicious month or Masa, also known as Purushottama Maasa. In this video, we will try to understand the importance of Purushottama Masa, what is the story behind it, and how it is going to help us in the journey towards our liberation. We begin with an invocation known as Mangala Charanam. Sada Gamaika Vigneyam Samatitaksharam Narayanam Sada Vande Niradosha Shesha Sadgunam. So I continuously offer my salutations to Lord Narayana, that is none other than Sri Vishnu, none other than Sri Krishna or Sri Narsimha, by any name we call it, who is superior to all the jivas and the jadas, and also Goddess Lakshmi, who is chiefly conveyed by the sacred scripture. This is from Vishnu Tattva Vinirnaya. Proceeding further, we always have to offer our thanks to our Guru. So I would like to thank my Guru, Sri Narsimha Jorapur sir from Mumbai. And with his whole blessings only, I've been able to proceed further towards my journey of gaining, knowledge, the spiritual, sacred knowledge over here. So let's begin a very interesting story of Purushottama Masa. There is a beautiful place called as Naimisharanya in Uttar Pradesh, very close to Lucknow, in India. So here the whole story begins about, remembering Lord Narayan, Naranarayana Parvat, which is very famous in Badrinath, and Goddess Saraswati and Maharshi Vedavyasa. So once upon a time, Suta Rishi Maharaj approaches Naimisharanya forest. He is seen as a very radiant and revered sage. All the other sages who had assembled there immediately rushed and requested Suta Rishi for a story that uplifts humanity. So the story begins with Devarshi Narad's inquiry. So Suta Rishi says that the whole Purushottama Masa story started when Devarshi Narad went to Lord Narayan at Badrinath, which is in Uttarakhand, India. And how was this beautiful place? The description is the hermitage was filled with divine beauty, greenery, flowering trees, and the sacred waters of Ganga and Alaknanda. I'm sure all of you who have visited Badrinath have enjoyed this blissful feeling. Devarshi Narada then praised Lord Vishnu and asks for a path of liberation in Kali Yuga. Lord Narayana reveals the secret and the glory of Purushottama Masa. So let's rewind back. Lord Paramatma takes us to Mahabharata time when Pandavas were in exile. As you all know that Pandavas lost everything in the game of dice and were exiled, and they suffered in the forest. We also are aware that Draupadi was humiliated in the royal court, but Lord Krishna protected her. Given the tough circumstances that they were going through, Arjuna then asked, "Oh Lord, what is the remedy through which all human beings can overcome all the sorrow?" And this is a very blessed question, because this is what led for us to understand about Adhika Maasa. Krishna then explains the neglected Adhika Maasa. So in our calendar, we see that there is a solar calendar and there is a lunar calendar. And then there is an extra lunar month which has no solar transition. Because if you follow the lunar calendar and the solar calendar, there is a gap of approximately 11 days in a year. So in roughly about 3 years time, an additional month of 33 days is added to balance those calendars of solar and lunar calendars over here, which is what we call as Panchanga in India. Right? So since there was no solar transition when it was originally formed, the Adhik Masa was insulted, rejected, and was called as Malamasa. In our Panchanga system, each month, Masa or month, has an Adi Devata. So there are 12 Adityas, and each Aditya is responsible for each month. Since this became the 13th month, there was no Devata which was over here. And because of this, repeated rejection, it was called as Malamasa or impure month, because there was no Devata, to lead the particular month over there. Unable to bear this humiliation, the neglected month approached Lord Vishnu in Vaikunta and prayed for refuge. So this is a beautiful part where Adhika Maasa reaches Vaikunta and says, "O Lord, I am being insulted as Malamasa. I am without honor, without a master, and without respect. Overwhelmed with sorrow, I wish to die." And then sought refuge in Lord Vishnu. We all know Lord Vishnu is one who is full of compassion, full of grace, full of love, right? So then Lord Vishnu takes him to Golok. And beauty of this place is, you know, the Golok is adorned with jewels, divine light, and everlasting peace. There was no disease, grief, or fear of death there. In simple way, we understand place called as Swarga where we enjoy. But this is beyond Swarga. And the amount of ananda or happiness that you can get is simply undescribable. It is so infinite in its true nature over there. So as Adhika Maasa, who had reached there in Vaikunta, with all this stress in his mind and tensions in his mind, depression in his mind, he had just become unconscious, and with the help of Garuda, he again, got his consciousness by, little breeze being blown by Garuda under the command of Lord Vishnu. Then Lord Vishnu took him to Lord Krishna at Goloka. And Lord Krishna there radiates beautifully with flute adorned with yellow garments, Pitambara Vastra, and forest garlands, Vaijayanti Mala, a mala which has flowers from all seasons, radiating beauty like millions of moons. Adhika Maasa presented himself before Lord Krishna. Rejected by everyone, it had become deeply sorrowful, and hence I have come to seek refuge in you, O Lord. And then Lord Krishna, what did he do? He said, I will grant it my own name, glory, virtues, and greatness. From now on, it shall be known as Purushottama Maasa. And thus ended the Malamasa, and it got translated to Purushottama Maasa, and thereby Lord Krishna declared it as the most sacred month. He said that I myself shall be the presiding Lord. We remember there are 12 Adityas, each for each month as presiding Lord, but in this month, Lord Narayana or Lord Krishna or Lord Purushottama himself is the presiding Lord. Among all months, this month shall become the most sacred and worship worthy. Anybody who does worship, charity, fasting, or devotion will infinite merit in this particular month, right? Those who honor this month would attain prosperity, happiness, and ultimately liberation, while those who disrespect it would continue to suffer. Here a natural question may come, why only worship, charity, fasting or devotion is mentioned? Why not, we conduct various functions, auspicious functions or events like a marriage or, Upanayanam or a housewarming, etc. But the secret that Lord shared over here is a person when he is engaged in performing a marriage function or an event spends a lot of time on various other things and gets diverted by on instead of focusing on Paramatma themselves. And hence it is important for us to be close to Paramatma through japa, tapa, homa, prayers, etc. So all events which are materialistic in nature, marriage or housewarming, etc., are not performed or avoided in this particular month, with only reason in mind that maximum time we are able to spend on focusing on thinking about Paramatma, his Sarva Guna Sampanna qualities, his Nirdosha qualities, and his omnipresence, which is there, and the one who is going to give us moksha or liberation. Thus, Adhik Maasa is also known as Purushottama Maasa. So, a story related to that again cuts back us to Mahabharata, where Lord Krishna explained to the Pandavas that they were suffering in exile partly because they had not honored Purushottama Masa properly. And this is a learning for all of us also. In the former birth, Draupadi was the beautiful and virtuous daughter of sage Medhavi. She remained unmarried and deeply worried about her future. Once upon a time, Durvasa Muni came to her house and, pleased with her devotion, advises to follow Purushottama Masa scriptures and worship Lord Purushottama. He explained that even a single holy bath during this month grants immense merit, equal to thousands of years of austerity and sacred bathing in the Ganga. Despite sharing so many things and the importance and significance of Purushottama Masa, somehow Draupadi was not so convinced. She still doubted about Purushottama Masa's significance, and thereby she suffered karmic consequences. So what she did was she moved away from Purushottama Masa, kind of disrespect, and then started performing intense penance to please Lord Shiva. During the summer, she sat amidst 5 blazing fires. During winter, she stood in freezing water. And during the rainy season, she remained beneath the open sky without shelter. She performed austerities for thousands of years, yet her devotion remained unwavering. Filled with excitement, she repeatedly requested, pleased by her penance and devotion for thousands of years, right? Lord Shiva appeared, and after looking at Lord Shiva, she was filled with excitement. And she said, "Grant me a husband, grant me a husband." She repeated this 5 times. Lord Shiva grants boon of 5 husbands. And this is where, she says, no, 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 I want only one, but she said that since you have not followed or disrespected the Purushottama Masa, your karma is linked to that. And therefore, but you will be, and in this year, in this life, you will not get a husband, but in the next Janma, when you become Draupadi, you will have 5 great people as your husbands. Then Lord Shiva departed, and her body, was already weakened from austerities. Now grief filled into her because in this Janma nothing is going to happen. She gave up her life in her hermitage. Later on, King Yajnasena performed a grand sacrifice, and from the sacrificial fire emerged a radiant maiden. She later became famous as Draupadi, the daughter of King Drupad. Right. So this is the way in which the reincarnation of Medhavi, sage Medhavi's daughter, came back as Draupadi. And we all know the story of how she suffered humiliation in the Kauravas' court. Krishna delays, her rescue due to her past disrespect of Purushottama Masa. But when she surrendered completely with pure devotion, raising both the hands and surrendering completely to Paramatma, he instantly protected her honor. So these are all the learnings and lessons for us also, about absolute surrender that we should do. We keep wishing that I should get this, I should get that in life, I should get a promotion, I should get married, but we are not ready to follow the scriptures, which are prescribed according to our varna and ashrama. Yet we expect results, and these are all happening because of our, past karmas which are there associated with us. So this is how, Draupadi then gained, after understanding the importance of Purushottama Masa, the Pandavas successfully regained back and the Hastinapura and, ruled forever going forward. The second part of the story comes about King Dhridadhanva's detachment. So the Syuta Rishi, who was talking to all the rishis in Naimisharanya, narrated the story of the righteous king Dhridadhanva, his prosperity and the awakening of detachment within his heart. In the kingdom of Haihaya lived a noble king named Chitradharma, whose son Dhridadhanva was truthful, wise, brave, and virtuous. King Dhritathanva ruled wisely and justly. His queen Gunasundari was beautiful and devoted. Together they had 4 sons and a daughter. Once the king was out in the forest, and he hears from a parrot that, "Oh man, if you remain attached to fleeting worldly pleasures and fail to contemplate the soul, how will you ever cross the ocean of worldly existence?" This thing struck to him very closely, and it awakened detachment and silence in his life. While King Dhritathanva remained absorbed in contemplation, sage Valmiki arrived at his palace and asked him what is the issue. And he said that, "Look, I am feeling a huge sense of detachment and belongingness over here. I am not at peace." Meditating upon the king's previous birth, sage Valmiki revealed that he had once been a pious Brahmin named Sudeva living on the banks of Tamrapani river in South India. In the past life, they lived as a childless Brahmin couple. At Gautami's suggestion, that is his wife, they both performed severe penance and worshipped Lord Vishnu for thousands of years. Today, we are not even able to carry one commitment for even 30 days. Forget thousands of years for us, especially our New Year resolutions. We take it on 31st of December, and by 1st, 2nd, 3rd January, it is all over. So look here, this is a live inspiration for all of us that for thousands of years, they did severe penance and worshipped. Pleased with their devotion, Lord Vishnu finally appeared before them. And then they asked that we need a child. Lord Vishnu said that this is not possible because in this Janma, you are not due to have a child. They vehemently pleaded and requested continuously. And Garuda, was pleased with their devotion and humbly requested Lord Vishnu to please bless them with son. And Krishna, considering Garuda's request and devotion, blessed them with a son called as Shukadeva. Garuda also wanted at the same time to Sudev that although the child was being granted through divine grace, he would bring both joy and sorrow. One day, sage Deval visited their home and blessed the child, but also revealed a painful truth. Shukadeva would die by drowning at the age of 12. And so be it. That's what happened. During the games, Shukadeva dived deep into deep water and tragically drowned. Sudeva lamented helplessly, calling upon Lord Vishnu to rescue him from the unbearable agony of losing his child. While Sudeva mourned continuously, fierce storms and heavy rains covered the land for an entire month. Lost in grief, Sudeva unknowingly observed the vows of Purushottama Maasa, fasting, bathing repeatedly in rainwater, and renouncing worldly comforts. So Shukadeva is then revived by Krishna after being pleased by Sudeva's so deep, intense penance and love towards Paramatma, and he blessed Shukadeva with a lifespan of 12,000 years. So my dear friends, even unknowing observance of Purushottama Masa brings liberation. Such is the beauty and the power of Purushottama Masa. So, to summarize, sage Valmiki says, how should one observe this Purushottama Masa? We should wake up at Brahma Muhurta, that is early morning between 4 to 4:30 a.m. Maintain purity and complete daily rituals properly as per our Varnashrama. Bathe, wear clean clothes, apply sacred tilak. Perform prayers, meditation and Sandhya Vandanam. Establish a sacred kalash and worship Lord Purushottama with devotion. Offer sandalwood paste, flowers, lamps, and food offerings. And more importantly, do a lot of charity, devotion, remembrance. Spend a lot of time on self reflection and building our own knowledge about the real truth understanding of Vishnu or Purushottama, and understand that this whole month is declared as supreme amongst all the months. Like Ganga is the supreme among rivers. Similarly, Purushottama Masa is the supreme among months. So, to conclude, he emphasized that human life is rare and should be used for righteousness and devotion rather than attachment to temporary pleasures. Valmiki further explained that wealth, youth, and life itself are temporary, so one should not delay in performing charity and spiritual practices. Please remember, Purushottama Maasa is month of grace, merit, and liberation. Listening or reading its glory frees from one's sins. So don't wait. The month has already started. Take the first step today itself and start learning more about Purushottama Masa and following as per the scriptures about Purushottama Masa. Thank you very much for listening to this. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.